Hey, welcome to Diversity in Cinema Academy. I'm Theta Catalan, and this is the place to be if you're an indie filmmaker, video creator, and screenwriter. So, all this month, I will be dropping 24 filmmaking tips. I've already started the series with basically coming up with an idea for a Christmas movie. So now, before we jump into the outline, like I mentioned in the last video, I actually want you to come up with a contained film, because the whole point of this series is to kind of really help indie filmmakers, especially filmmakers who are creating, ultra low budget films or micro low budget films, which is like under $300,000. And a lot of times with brand new filmmakers, they typically are making films that can be micro budget films, or like maybe $50,000 or less. So that's why I am doing this series and how you can make a really great Christmas story, but you gotta understand what it takes to make a good Christmas film even at a low budget. So one of those things is to create a contained film, and that's what this video is going to be all about, creating a contained film. So what that is basically you're probably shooting in 1 to maybe 3 locations. Highly suggest 1 location, and then maybe you have like maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 characters, topping out at 5. You don't want any extras because that's going to cost a ton of money, and even if they are volunteer extras, you still have to feed them, and you
like, well, I'm gonna just shoot them within these 2 hours where I don't have to feed them lunch.
But you're still gonna have snacks, so that's gonna increase your craft services. So that's why I suggest, when you don't have a huge budget, to create a contained film. And so you got to think about movies where you've seen them, like maybe they're at some kind of retreat, and so maybe it's a couple who went there, or 2 couples, and they're going through something, or maybe they're at a cabin, right? And if you want to go dark with it, then maybe somebody is stalking the cabin, and so now they got some crazy Christmas, and you can add all kind of metaphors and puns and all different kind of stuff that's symbolic of Christmas that maybe this crazy person on the outside is doing. So I don't know, you just gonna come up with different things like that. And just think about it, a lot of times with Christmas films, they have, where they get snowed in. So maybe they can't go anywhere. They're forced to be in this one location because they got snowed in. And so you just think of different things like that, of how you can create a story surrounding the fact that they got stuck in their location. And then one thing that's cool about that, you can make it one day. So a lot of times, we have characters doing different things, and bigger budget movies, and they have multiple days going by, so that means they have to change their wardrobe all the time, and so that costs money as well. But if you do something that happens throughout a time period throughout the day, then think about the show 24, right? I mean, that was like 24 hours, that they created a whole series behind it, you know what I mean? So they don't have to change wardrobe. They're in the same thing. Of course, unless you're damaging it, but if they're not, they can stay in the same outfit. And with ultra low budget films, typically you may ask them to bring their own clothes, so you don't have a huge wardrobe budget. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later in this 24 tips till Christmas series. So that is another great thing about creating a contained film. Another thing about a contained film is that you will not have a lot of props. That should be your aim. You should have a lot of visual effects. If you do want to have visual effects, limit the amount that you do, because that's something that you would have to add to your budget. And not thinking of something that is super crazy, ridiculous type of visual effects, that's going to cost you a lot of money, even if it's only on the screen for like 15 seconds, and you just then spent like $5,000 on just that one thing. So that is something to think about when you're creating your contained film. And one thing about creating a contained film, if you only have 1 to 2 actors that you need to take care of, that mean that you don't have to pay a lot in hotel fees, because you only have those 2 people, especially if you're flying people in, and so less flights you have to pay for, less per diem you have to pay for, and also that mean you can work with a skeleton crew. So that is why it is important to try to create a story or think of a story idea that is contained. So now that I gave you some ideas of what a contained film is, while like if you came up with some ideas overnight about what type of film that you would like to do, now I want you to like really narrow in on that and be like, okay, now that I understand that it's going to cost me a ton of money if I try to do something that's super extravagant, then maybe I need to contain it and keep it really small and affordable. And I want you to think about that overnight. So now the next video that we're going to jump into for tomorrow is going to be all about outlining that great contained Christmas film. Okay? So I look forward to knowing what type of story ideas that you are coming up with. So be sure to leave, comments below, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, thanks for tuning in to my 24 filmmaking tips till Christmas. If you are enjoying this series, be sure to visit Diversity and Cinema Academy's website, where they have a ton of resources there. If you're interested in leveling up your film business, you can check out my online course,